Доброго дня, це медіа-центр України Одеса. Ми розпочинаємо наш робочий день з брифінгів. Робочий день брифінгів. І перший брифінг буде присвячений зоозахисту під час повномасштабної війни. Ми сьогодні покликали тих, хто відповідає за допомогу тваринам, які живуть на вулиці. І зараз із нами Яна Титаренко, голова громадської організації «Закон Прyrody» зліва направо, Аліна Заборна, керуюча притулком «Ковчег», операційна директорка UA Animals Ольга Chevganyuk і Валентина Datsyuk, заступник директора Департаменту екології та розвитку рекреаційних зон Одеської міської ради. Давайте розпочнемо з загального питання, як зараз під час повномасштабної війни може виглядати зоозахист, наскільки стало важче працювати після 24 лютого минулого року. Давайте почнемо просто по порядку. Яна, прошу.
Ми спостерігаємо таку тенденцію, що наразі ситуація з тваринами в Одеській області, буду казати за область взагалі, тому що ми не розподіляємо місто і область окремо, ситуація майже критична, тому що до тих питань, які були до війни, це безпритульні тварини на вулицях Одеси, Одеської області, додалися ще такі проблеми, як покинуті тварини через те, що люди їхали і не всі мали бажання забирати тварин з собою, і тварини, яких до нас доправляють військові або люди з територій, які постраждали внаслідок військової агресії Російської Федерації. Тобто ті проблеми, які були, наразі нікуди не поділися, до них додалися ще проблеми з покинутими тваринами та тваринами, які стали заручниками війни.
Ольго, скажіть, я не працюю в Одесі, ваша організація працює по всій Україні, зокрема і з тими тваринами, яких дійсно залишають чи кидають на територіях, де точаться військові дії. Наскільки зараз складніше стало працювати вашій організації, яка є громадською волонтерською організацією?
Доброго дня всім. По-перше, хочу сказати, що не стало складніше, стало просто зовсім по-іншому. Зовсім змінилася сам вид діяльності. Якщо раніше ми працювали більше як громадська організація, зараз ми працюємо більше як благодійний фонд. Це означає, що ми напряму допомагаємо притулкам, волонтерам, простим людям, які рятують тварин. Ситуація складна абсолютно в усіх регіонах, і тут тільки можу додати до того, що сказала Яна, що так, були проблеми, тепер ці проблеми залишились, плюс додалась війна, а це означає, що додалась безпосередня можливість у тварин померти в будь-яку секунду, додався голод, додалась окупація, додались території, де ведуться бойові дії, і UA Animals якось з початку ще війни ми для себе обрали працювати з найважкішими територіями. Тобто наші команди евакуації, всі доставки гуманітарки, які ми робимо, перш за все ми концентруємо свою увагу якраз на територіях, де ведуться де є зона бойових дій. І це страшне. Є регіони, де просто величезна кількість тварин на вулицях, де є їх більше набагато, звісно, ніж людей. Є регіони, де тварини, собаки їдять котів і виглядають просто жахливо. Це кісті. Намагаємося вивозити якомога більше. І основна складність навіть на сьогодні в зоозахисті по Україні не в тому, що ми не можемо вивезти, а в тому, що практично немає куди, тому що абсолютно всі притулки переповнені. І через це ми, крім того, що ми відбудовуємо зруйновані росіянами притулки, ми ще й намагаємося їх якось розширити. І просто золоті люди-волонтери, які намагаються якомога більше весь час прилаштовувати тварин, щоб можна було врятувати тих, хто безпосередньо може загинути від війни.
Дякую. Якраз говорячи про притулки, в нас є Аліна Заборна, керуюча притулком «Ковчег». Питання до вас, як зараз працює притулок, що з фінансуванням, з кількістю тварин, які до вас приносять?
В нас і до війни було дуже тяжко. Тобто в нас люди дуже жорстокі, вони приносили під притулок, під ворота і підкидали цуценят, кошенят. Зараз, звісно, ще ситуація складніша, тому що приводять дорослих вже собак, які все своє життя жили в сім'ї. Тобто вони не знають, що таке вулиця, вони не можуть зрозуміти, що з ними. Тобто, вони дуже емоційно страждають, і люди не можуть нам навіть дати право вибору. Вони приходять і говорять, що ми виїжджаємо. Тобто заберіть, а то ми залишимо на вулиці тварину. Тварини, які були домашні, вони не виживуть на вулиці. Тим паче, якщо це собака, якій 10 років. Тому їм все одно на те, що притулкам не виділяють грошей. Тобто в нас є люди, які нам допомагають всім, чим вони можуть, але в нас спонсорів постійних немає. Тобто у нас є спонсор один, який взяв на себе заботу та фінансування швидкої медичної допомоги. Але він не може також купувати медичні препарати постійно. І тим паче в нас немає запасу корму. Тобто, тому що в нас собак з цуценятами більше, ніж 700. Кошенят 97. Тому дуже складна ситуація, і ми дуже вдячні людям, які не залишають нас в біді, і інші притулки також.
Пані Валентина, ви говорите останнє, але питання, може, одне з найважливіших, яке я зараз поставлю. В Одесі була програма зі стерилізації бездомних животних, собак, кішок. Як вона зараз фінансується чи не фінансується, коли вона запрацює?
Программа работает, она не останавливалась. Служба отлова продолжает работать. Я бы хотела вернуться к началу всех этих печальных событий. Вот, учитывая все сказанное предыдущими спикерами, ситуация действительно была непростая. Нужно объективности ради сказать, что в Одессе не наблюдалось огромного количества брошенных животных, были единичные случаи. Как правило, люди, уезжая, забирали с собой животных. Некоторые оставляли на попечение соседям, родным. Но, естественно, были какие-то безвыходные ситуации, и какая-то часть животных оставалась на улице. Серьезное скопление, такие локации животных мы определяли на границе города. То есть там уже сложно было определить, либо это наши городские, либо это пришедшие. Хочу сказать огромное спасибо приюту «Ковчег», который в тот момент оказался действительно единственным островком, на который мы могли опираться и спасать животных. К нашему огромному сожалению, немецкий приют не по нападению в первую очередь, поэтому приют был закрыт. То есть, еще раз повторю, низкий поклон Ковчегу. Это приют, который помог нам найти какой-то выход из создавшейся ситуации. Коммунальное предприятие, городская служба отлова, они не останавливали свои работы, они продолжают работать сегодня, невзирая на то, что многие были призваны и ушли защищать страну, но тем не менее коммунальное предприятие работает. Программа по стерилизации, она продолжает работу.
Stopped financing of these activities for the year. But anyway, we managed to find the way out of the situation. We conclude agreements with the veterinary clinics who are ready to work only with the advance payment. And this is also a very important issue to focus on. We have the new office of our municipal service in Golovatova Street, and there we provide medical care. We continue sterilizing animals, and we also provide first aid to animals, so there are no issues with this in our city. Am I right in understanding that the sterilization campaign is ongoing, and now it is conducted by the veterinary clinics who just wait for the money to be paid later? Yes, but this is only related to cats. As for dog sterilization, there is no issues here at all. So the program is as is the same as it was before the full-scale war. So we catch the dogs, sterilize them, and leave them again to go in the streets. But before the war, that program was on the basis of the German animal shelter. But after the beginning of the full-scale war, the municipal service has become fully responsible for the process. And now we understand that we should increase our budget, that we need to examine the land plot in the 6 kilometer from Odesa. We are planning to construct the medical center for animals and also a crematorium to utilize the bodies of animals, and also the place to bury them. And the last question about statistics: how many cats and dogs were sterilized within the program by the communal services or by the private vet clinics during the last year? The deputy head of the communal service, Ms. Kabatova, can answer the question. Then I can give the floor just wait for a moment, please, before answering the question. In 2022, the municipal service caught, sterilized, even vaccinated more than 1,400 dogs, and vet clinics sterilized also around 1,400 cats and tomcats. 1,478, this is for dogs, and almost 1,400 cats. Olha, the question is to you. I know that in Kiev there used to be, or there is still, the organization saving or rescuing animals in emergency situations, stuck on the tree or in some other cases. Do you know about the activities of these teams? Perhaps you mean KARK. This is a rescue service, and they also really save a lot of animals, and some of them are brought to us. And I don't know about similar situations in other regions of Ukraine that have some centralized level of support. There are some groups of volunteers who save animals, and then they can also hand these animals over us. And the floor to my colleagues. Good afternoon, Union. Perhaps this is the question when I have questions to all of you. Yana, I know that before the full-scale war, you were involved with solving the issue of cruel behavior towards animals. What is the situation with this now? And this is the question to Yana. Yes, we worked with that issues. Now, unfortunately, we still have claims about such cases. The day before yesterday, people residing in Холодна Balka called us saying that the people who were involved in breeding animals left the country and fled the country, and they left all their animals, and neighbors tried to support those animals with food and water. Part of my team is on the front line. Unfortunately, Georgy Lipsky, who was the part of the rescue activities of our group, of our NGO, died and was killed at the front line. That's why we cannot respond to all requests. But I try to keep contact with local governmental authorities and local police units. And if the situation is critical, we try to call for mass media, at least to record the case. So we still try to react to such questions, but we don't have the opportunity as we had before the war. to bring all those cases to the court, because now we are involved with supporting our army. I am a volunteer of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and that's why we cannot focus on those issues with animals to the extent that we did before the war. And among servicemen now, there are a lot of people who, after our victory, would like to join the environmental movement, because now they can see how many animals are left because of the war. And this is just a separate topic about how many animals were rescued by servicemen and were handed over to us by them. And I hope that after the war is over, everyone will come back here safe and alive and will be involved in protecting animals. I have the question to you as a representative of animal shelter. And how many animals you had before the 24th of February? Before the full-scale war, we had 1/3 of the animals that we have now. Because before the full-scale war, a lot of people just referred to us to take a cat or a dog from our shelter. There are still people who want to adopt a pet, but they just prefer just to play with those animals, and they return these animals to us. The military also handed puppies to us. There were 4 in total. 2 of them have been already adopted. And the next question is to you, perhaps. Do you have any statistics about how many animal shelters have been destroyed by the war? There were 10 critical cases, and we've already repaired them, have them repaired. And I don't know the general amount at the moment because we just try to have all these shelters repaired, but unfortunately we have no access to the occupied territories, and we don't know what's happening there. And can you share the whereabouts of these 10 animal shelters? And perhaps you can share without the details of how many animals they have. Different numbers. For example, in Gostomel animal shelters that was occupied by more than 40 days, and they had to melt ice. There were a lot of 1,000 animals. In Chernihiv, Valentina Datsyuk is the owner of animal shelter. It's like several hundreds animals. And she did not leave Chernihiv. Although her house was destroyed because of the animals. And now the question to a representative of City Council. When the German shelter was closed, how many animals it had at the moment, and where these animals were handed over? The German shelter closed with the beginning of the full-scale war. The dogs that were there were transported to Germany. I don't know the number because the owner of this information is the shelter. And the municipal, there were no dogs that were brought there by the municipal service. And this is everything I know about them. So they took those dogs to Germany, yes. But the dogs, there were no dogs that were handed over to the shelter by our municipal service at the moment. The next question, Grad TV channel. Good afternoon. I have the following question: How do animal volunteers work on the liberated territories, and perhaps you are in contact with the animal shelters on the occupied territories. Do you provide support to the people in who are still there in Kherson and other occupied regions? A lot of people do not leave those territories because they can't leave their pets there, and they now feed homeless animals who are still there. Perhaps you you have some lists of the people and you can support them at least with the animal food. And I think this is the question to me. When new territories are deoccupied, we follow the Ukrainian military, and we are right there on the spot. And we were not allowed to Kherson on the first day of the liberation, but we traveled all over the Kherson Oblast, and our volunteers, our activists examined the situation there. And so then we were allowed to Kherson. And Kherson is quite okay now when it comes to pets and animals, and we know that there are no major problems for animal shelters and volunteers in the city. The situation is a bit worse in the Kherson Oblast. We have the form that people can fill in on our website, and we have the team of managers who verify those applications. Because we cannot just help everyone. So we checked, they verify the number of animals, because the situations are different. Sometimes people just state in the application that they have 100 animals, but in the real number is just 30. So we verify this information. We know a lot of shelters and volunteers in the regions, and we keep in touch with them to support them. So we have a database of around thousands of animal shelters, but by animal shelters, I mean all types of organizations which are officially registered, have around thousands of animals. To those people who started supporting and feeding animal after the full-scale war started. So, answering your question, we're in touch with the people, volunteers and shelters there. If the territories are occupied, sometimes we lost contacts with them. And now, for example, there are regions where we cannot bring anything, or we can't take anything out of there, namely animals. But people still have their Ukrainian credit cards operating, and we at least can transfer money for them to buy everything needed for the animals. There are national nature parks which are occupied, and we try to support them when we are 100% sure that they are not collaborators, and we support them with everything we have. There usually the prices are 2-3 times bigger than it used to be, but people still support animals. Everyone can apply for our aid. Not only animal shelters, but individuals. And we will examine all applications, but we have some priorities. First, we support those in combat zones, because it is more difficult for them. Then we support liberated territories, and then IDPs, those who took animals with them, and the last group, the territories which are more or less calm. For example, Kovcheg animal shelter, according to our classification, are in a calm region, because there is no direct lethal threat. So we support Kovcheg like the last, if we have human resources or financial resources, because now we are more focused on rescuing animals where the hostilities take place. If you take animals from those territories, is this also your mandate? Yes, we have a special team, and we also process all the applications. But I should say that we help to transport wild animals like lions, and we help to bring them abroad. We have the two evacuation teams who can take animals from those territories, and we have animal shelters which still have capacity to accommodate animals. But sometimes we have such situations where all the shelters are full. We can accept the applications, we work with them, but unfortunately sometimes we face a problem that the shelters are full. Thank you. I have the following question to all of you. Perhaps you know about such cases. Quite often people go abroad leaving animals, and you've mentioned about this in Odessa. I know about such cases in Kharkiv. Do you know such cases when people come back to Ukraine and take their animals from shelters, we have the situation when the family returned the dog to us, but sometime later they came back and wanted to have their dog back. But we did not give them the dog because the dog was betrayed and she was used to living in the condition of the animal adoption centers. We found a different family for the dog. And we believe that we did the right thing because if you was betrayed once, there is no guarantee that they want to betray again. There was the case in the vet cleaning, Red Forest. The family brought cat there, but the family returned and they wanted to have their cat back, but the cat was adopted by another family and there was even a huge scandal there. So the cases are there. Valentina, there is a question to you, but you wanted to add something. No? No, sorry. You've mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, a communal animal shelter, and there was an idea several years ago to develop the whole center with a clinic, with a cemetery for animals. Do you have any details? Is there design completed or something else? No. Unfortunately, I cannot provide you this information because now we have decree 590 that does not allow us to make payments, and now we cannot even conclude contracts because we are not sure that we will be able to pay to our contractors because of the decree. The next issue, it is not like a traditional shelter. This is the Center for Temporary Accommodation of Animals, because it is perhaps not right to make animals to live somewhere in some closed space. But of course, we need this center. We need to have a clinic there. We need to have an animal cemetery there because this is very important. But it won't be an animal shelter. That will be a temporary accommodation center for animals, similar to Dogtown. And this is the territory where the German shelter used to be now. This is a different land plot. Also, it's close to the plot occupied by the German animal shelter, which is closed now. Yes, as I've already mentioned. But do you expect it to be reopened after the war is over? We hope so. Are there any other questions? No? Then we will stop here. Thank you very much for finding time to join us today to share your information. If our journalists have any questions, you can ask our guests after the briefing. The next briefing will take place in half an hour at noon. It will be dedicated to Odesa developers during the war, after the full-scale war started on the 24th of February last year, so stay tuned.